Okay, here's a little video about the group project. Um, so overall, the whole purpose of this was to get you to think about like designing an experiment and how scientists come up with it. So far, you've just followed procedures, and so most of you are taking stuff that we've done, tried to apply it to different systems, and then think about like what works, what doesn't work, all these kinds of things. Everything is a decision though, and so hopefully it gives you a new perspective of the labs and then science and so on. So, and the main thing is that we always want to answer questions. And so along the way, we always get new questions uh and it just cascades and so on. And this is science in reality. So another difference though is that what you're probably looking at is a lot more complicated system because we choose the labs to be neat, sterile, easy to follow, and now when you apply it, sometimes you get results that are complicated. So you need proper controls and stuff like that. And so it comes up with the idea of error controls, and so extracting information from your results, data analysis, and so on. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Just to again remind you about the scoring. So you have two different aspects you're graded on. So you have the written report, the first one, and so you're going to work together and create one report. This is the rubric for it. There's some individual points, making sure that you kind of submitted your individual ideas by that deadline, submitted your group project, and so you'll know that that one of you submitted that and only one of you needed to, because you should see a group assigned. When you go into Brightspace and you look at groups, you should see a group assigned to you. If you don't, then you need to email me, submit to that, so that way I can assign you a group, because that way when you post a video, that's how it's all going to be a reference for it. All right. So if you have questions about this, then come see me. It's very different, so it's a big leap from what we had before, but most people, uh, it's enough, they'll understand. But if you have questions, you can talk to the TA or talk to me about it. And a lot of the points then are due to your lab etiquette and effort in the lab. And so, again, this is kind of like a lab practical demonstrating proficiency and so on. And so most of you should have no problem getting most of these points, if not all of them. All right, so just one thing is just like chemistry as a science, and that so it's a collective thing. It just slowly builds on it. And the if you read the lab handout, it gets you to think about like chemists, like what we like to do as a chemist is just study, and like some people study water, right? To me, that seems so crazy boring. I mean, there's some cool aspects of it, but overall very boring. We each have our little niche that we look at. And at the interface, when you mix, we have like five main areas of chemistry. We have organic, physical. So physical is where we have like the models that go with it to predict. So a lot more math with it. We have analytical, so that has to do with error, proper controls, methodology, protocol. We have um, plastics, and which we don't have represented, polymers, plastics in the department, biochemistry, and so, and then beyond that, so a lot of times I have a materials background. This is kind of folded into inorganic or physical, and then material science and all this. So, but in general, I think most chemists want to synthesize something, make something. And so, and then, business aspect, can we make something that's useful, adds value? But then also the big thing is now is thinking about the end of life. Everything has an end of life. And so what happens when it's put into the environment, in the economics of it, and then we can make things that help society in the short term, but then poison in the long term. Can we make it, just get the best of both worlds and so on. And so it can have a huge impact on some society, but then others, like if you read the handout thinking about like rubber, all the kind of applications we have, but then the economics of it, it can destroy other societies. So it's this weird kind of interplay about government and science and stuff like that. And so the thing is, just to get you thinking about like going through high school and now till college, your first year in college, most of you. And then when you come out, like adding to it, and it's amazing to see how like so many of you are leaps and bounds beyond where I was and ready to go out and contribute and do this. Okay, so overall in the lab, then you're going to start small. You have an idea, and the main thing is that just first run of it, use the smallest amount possible. You're going to generate waste. You're going to have to deal with some issues, so you need to kind of play with it. So one of the things is a lot of you are going to look at doing titration. You're going to follow the protocol that we had, but we figured out the concentrations of stuff that you need. So how do you know? Well, if you're going to titrate, what we usually aim for is that we use between like 10 to 15 mils of titrant. If you use too small a volume of titrant, you have a lot of uncertainty in those volumes. And if you use too much, you don't gain anything. So we find we try to aim around that number. And so how do you know? Well, what I would do is start with like 1 mil of your thing you're going to titrate, and then just rough estimate pouring with a graduate cylinder to figure out how much of your titrant you need to get your change. So most of you doing acid-base titrations, but you could do precipitation or redox titrations. There's a lot of different ones. And so once you do that initial run to get an idea of the volume, then you can figure out how much of your original unknown do you need to add, so that way you kind of get in that ballpark. So if you have questions, just come see me, but just really start small, use the smallest amount, and then scale up versus starting with a huge volume, like a whole gallon of milk, and then trying to find the pH. It's just a waste, right? If you're going to stick a pH probe in there, you just need a big enough volume to cover the pH probe. All right, so you're going to make a report and you're going to make a video. And so the report should have all the elements listed before. Those are your graded. You're going to work together. Hopefully you share the workload. It always works out where there's an uneven distribution of it. But I don't really micromanage, but come see me and let me know and talk. And then I haven't had to deal with it in the past. This is only the third year. And so you're going to make a written report, again, one single report. So that's going to be submitted through your groups. So you need to have that set up, right? If you don't see the groups on Brightspace, you can't see that it was submitted on time, and you won't get credit then if you don't see it on there, because if I set it up for your other team members, the points are just automatically calculated in Brightspace. So because you have the individual and the group points, you'll see two different things on the graded elements, but then those are combined in Brightspace to give you one score for this lab. All right. So one of the big difference though is that now you're writing report, and we don't do much of that here in the first semester, in the first year Gen Chem, but I know you do a lot more in biology lab and probably some other labs. Next semester in organic chemistry, that's where we really start to focus on lab reports and communicating. And so if you have questions and you want help, I'm happy to talk with you more individual about it. But the kind of big thing, what makes a college level report is that most people naturally kind of get this. Some people go to the extreme of just way too much information, and others just too little information. So really the main idea is that you go back to kind of English 101. The way I learned to write reports in English is you think about your report and you do the chicken feed. All right. And so you have the introduction, you have the discussion, and then the conclusion at the end. And the introduction and conclusion you write at the end. It makes no it just doesn't make sense to write it in at first. All right. So you start with a discussion, and then now here usually break it down to like 3 more paragraphs. And then each of those paragraphs, you're going to have 4 to 5 sentences. All right. And so you really want to have an idea of your story. And this is kind of unique. We don't do any kind of writing like this. And you know where you're going to get to, right? You're going to analyze your results and you're going to draw conclusions. All right. And that you should be good at that's what we walk you through in doing it. And the question is how do you build up to it? So you're going to think about your results and you're going to break it down. So you'll probably, in this one, you're going to combine your results and kind of introduce your results that you have. And then you're going to break down each of the main kind of results into individual paragraph. And then you're going to kind of, that's where you go to high level detail. And then if you have multiple things like that, you need to come back and kind of weight things, figuring out which one has more emphasis, which has less emphasis, and so on. And so the idea is that then just mainly most of you that have graphs and figures like that, that's what you're going to use as your baseline. So you're going to talk about the different graphs that you have and analyze it, kind of set the stage, explain it, analyze it, draw conclusions from it. And you have another one, and then the question is, do they all tell the same thing or do they tell different thing or so on? So that's the idea of the story. And so the trickiness is what comes first, which paragraph, which sentence goes first in the paragraph, and this is where the story comes in. So a lot on here, but the idea is first create a draft and then edit, and edit. All right, that's really how you get to a good college level report. And so some of you are naturally good at it and you just have it, and others, most of you are going to, that's what you're going to work on. All right, so coming in, you're going to spend most of the time then working on your draft. And then when you graduate, you're going to find that you're going to use most of the time doing these edits. All right. And that's really what makes a textbook, right? Is all these different editors, people read through it. There's so many different times. So, um, um, so that's your kind of lead through it. If you're going to work with your team members and learn from them and work together on this, and you'll each take away different aspects of it. All right. So just think about your story and again, start early and then I can help you with it if you need help. Okay, so everything is due on April 9th. So in Brightspace, it's set up like that. On the syllabus, I had this. So you're gonna I don't know why I didn't catch it, but so the first week, most of you collected data. Some of you are going to wait till this week, but hopefully you start on your report, and you need to make the report and make the presentation. So you can do one or the other first, but most of you are going to write the report first and then make the video presentation, but it doesn't have to be that way. All right. So the second week is just optional. You can use that time however you want, if you want to work on the report, the presentation, or analyze data, so on. So okay, so you're going to submit the video. So I actually going to set it up 2 different ways. So first I went with this VoiceThread, and so that's what you'll find in the module. It's kind of weird. It's not with the other assignments, and so you just need one per group. It's connected with your individual one, so that's one thing I don't like. And then oh, that's for for the video. All right. And so I'm also going to set up a discussion board so you can submit both and then kind of ask you afterwards which one was more convenient to watch everybody's videos. In the discussion board, you'll naturally label it as group 1, group 2, whatever group you have. But in here, it's going to be linked to your individual account, whoever posted. And so don't post multiple versions, because then it'll make it a little harder for everybody to go to watch it. Then after all the videos are posted, then you're going to watch them all, and you're going to submit a Google form peer review for all the videos in the like Tuesday AM, Tuesday PM. So it's a lot of videos to watch. So instead of going to the lab, that's the lab time that you have for that second week. All right. So we'll set that deadline due for the following week, and then so it's a little different, a little new. So it's a lot of videos. I'm sorry, you got to scroll through them. There's in some of them, there's like 16 different videos, but that's why we set it to 5 minutes for it and so on. Okay, so you'll submit on VoiceThread and the discussion board. So in discussion, and so I'm don't know which one's better. So that's why I just decided to do both, and then you'll tell me which one is better. All right, and then you'll score. You have again some making the video and so on. There's some points associated with that, and then just like the written report, there's some individual points. So individually, you have to go and submit the Google form evaluations. And so just giving feedback. So it doesn't have to all be, you know, specific. That's probably going to be the harder one, but we just want to see the majority of the comments that you're given are specific. So, and really try to give feedback that helps people. All right. So if it's something's really good, what is really good, not just overall. And if you have an idea for improving something after you watch a bunch of the videos, it's much easier to kind of give those feedback, and that'll give you some idea for what the TAs do. All right. Um, so, and then at the end, you're gonna just kind of overall rank the project the best, and I can't remember if I did the worst too, but the best, and just a kind of broad kind of justification for the ranking for it. All right, and so the video, so very similar to the report. So title page, be sure and list the presenters and the groups, and you should do equal workload on it. So that's part of the kind of points that you share the workload for it. You don't have to film it all together. I think the easiest is to kind of just go on Zoom, and then you can each contribute to the video, but you can do it individually, and then in post editing, put it together if you kind of have done that before. All right, so just overall stating the purpose, going through relevant background that you have, discuss the results, and have a conclusion, show picture or video of the experimental setup. So again, you kind of want to use your time. You can't just kind of show like a full video. You would need to compress it down. So pictures would probably be the best for it. All right. And that's it. So let me know if you have any questions.